In our previous video, we explored the history of gigantism. While embarking on a long road trip to Michigan, this trip was ultimately for the unraveling of a rare gigantic skeleton we acquired from our good friend Todd. In this video, we share with you our tour of his museum that we were blessed with along the way. Hey everybody, after a long 10-hour road trip, we finally arrived in Michigan at the Anatomy of Death Museum here. I'm so excited to finally be here. Todd's a good friend of mine, and I finally was able to make the trip down to be able to come see the space. So let's take a look.
This is laid to rest antiques and oddities. This is located in front of our Death Museum. We are Michigan's only Death Museum. We are at the Anatomy of Death Museum. Up here in our oddities space, we sell real human bones. We have dead animals and taxidermy in jars.
I believe here the store is incredible, but what really makes this world famous is the Anatomy of Death Museum. Can you tell me a little bit more about why you started it, what you have inside, and really why people should come down and see the space?
So I started collecting in 2003, a long time ago. I worked for funeral homes. My first vehicle was a hearse. I was the kid in high school that drove the hearse to school. I started collecting a lot of funeral home items for my Halloween displays. And then just the collection kept getting massive and massive. Most of my collection was housed in my home, and not a lot of people were able to come over and see it. 2017, it got so big to where I wanted to open up an oddity shop, which was laid to rest antiques and oddities. I opened up in downtown Mount Clemens in 2017. When people found out that I had a personal collection at my house, everyone wanted to come over and see it. I wasn't comfortable for people coming to my home, so in 2019, I decided to rent another building, which this is the location we are in now, which was a lot larger than our old location. How the collection grew on the human anatomy side of it was we have a lot of medical professionals in the area. Grandpa was a dentist. He passed away. They found a human skull that he used in his school down at Wayne State, the dental school. And people would bring stuff in. They didn't know what to do with this stuff. They donate it or I buy it off them. Or a lot of times, unfortunately, a lot of anatomy gets thrown away. So my passion in life is to preserve the funeral history of our community and also all the medical specimens that we have here housed in our collection.
So we're at the start of the exhibit, but before we go in, how can people find the space and how much is general admission?
You can Google us. We're the Anatomy of Death Museum. We're all over Google. We're on YouTube. General admission is $10 each adult. Anyone 14 and under is $7. Children 5 and under are free. These are our body bags. They are scratch and sniff. All our customers get 2 free sniffs or 1 snort. Any additional sniffs or snorts, we will have to charge you.
Amazing. Well, let's go check it out.
Come on in.
Absolutely incredible. Where to start? Well, so take me through it. If this is your first time visiting the museum, where should your guests start, and show me a little bit about the space?
It starts right here with number 1, our OddFellow skeleton. The tour starts and it goes by number around the room. Takes a good 30-35 minutes to walk through the whole museum. We pride ourselves on displaying local history with the funeral home industry, anatomy, human anatomy.
So this is absolutely incredible. I'm a bone guy, I love this, gotta say that. These showcase a variety of different femurs with different implants, maybe a femoral head implant or a plate. I think that people learning and allowing to be able to see how the bone reacts to different foreign implants. A lot of people don't know that bone grows, and the bone can actually grow around the implant. Sometimes the body will reject it, so you have to take immunosuppressants in order to allow the body to not attack this foreign object.
So the one thing with this museum, people ask, why do you display skulls and skeletons and bones? We got to remember, these people who donated their bodies 50, 60, 100 years ago, their wishes were to be put on display to educate and teach people. Well, what happens is when these doctors and medical professionals pass away, the family members don't know what to do with this stuff. If there's no one like me that would take this stuff and put it back on display and honor these people's wishes, most of the stuff gets thrown away or buried.
Exactly.
And to this day, instead of being stuck in a closet, not educating anybody, they're put on display. So some people are like, that's weird that you would do it. Well, it's not, because how many medical students have learned and how many procedures and surgeries have grown by studying these bones. So this is one of our prized possessions. This is one of 6 horse-drawn hearses that I own. This is one of 3 that are housed here in our collection. This horse-drawn hearse was made by Mertz and Riddle in 1886. This came from a local funeral home, the Veron Funeral Home. It's so beautiful that you couldn't produce anything like this anymore.
No, and I just think that there's just so much artistry here. You know, I think even with funerary sciences and, you know, displaying of funerals, it's always a very sensitive topic, but being able to see such a beautiful part of funerary history preserved is incredible.
Yep. So this area right here is what I consider more of our embalming area. Over here we have a lot of used items from funeral homes that we have gathered. We have a very old Civil War era ice casket back in the day. Embalming came around about 1841. It wasn't really prominently used here in America until around the Civil War. Officers with money, if they fell on the battlefield, they would be shipped back home. Back then, a lot of soldiers were embalmed, but still the embalming process wasn't perfect. So you would have coffins like this one. This is a ice coffin. So it's wood on the inside.
Wow.
Is a metal insert. What would happen is the soldier would have been placed inside the coffin. The metal insert would be placed on top of him, and this would be filled with ice. And basically, on his traveling on his way home on a train, this would be acted as a cooler to preserve the body. Here we have a flip open door with glass, and in the metal insert you can see straight down through it, and you can see your loved one's face. Just view him for the last time.
Wow, that's incredible.
I named our place Anatomy of Death to hyphen around the word death. If you broke down the anatomy of the word death, it can go into all different avenues. So that's why we have a lot of the medical specimens here mixed in with the funeral home stuff, because it works hand in hand with what we do here.
And I love here that in the museum, everything is kind of like a dual action display. So you have all of these amazing tools and equipments here, but then it's also on a vintage embalming table.
Yeah,
right.
Old porcelain. So, you know, killed two birds with one stone. We have old embalming tables with a lot of these old embalming kits that we brought to your home. We have facial reconstruction kits right here. You know, anatomy. If you were to have to be restored because you were in a tragic accident, the embalmers and morticians can put your face back together to be viewed. So, and it would have to be around the human anatomy. So these are old embalming fluid bottles ranging back to around the turn of the century. The funeral home collecting world has become very big, especially embalming items, machines, kits. Bottles are the number one thing that have been blowing up in prices and popularity. So you have everything from nitrile to frigid bottles, champion, pictures of babies. This embalming fluid is better than this one because it preserves the body better. Just like anything, salesman or salesman. Mm-hmm. Embalming fluid is embalming fluid, but it's all about the advertisement.
Of course.
They don't realize that a lot of this stuff exists. A lot of people don't realize human medical specimens are legal to own and possess. Some people don't even realize up in their attic that there's a full human skeleton up there that belonged to Grandpa through his medical practices, that when Grandpa died, the estate, everything was moved. So we teach a lot of people about what is the funeral home business, what is embalming. We've had people who have had cancer and only have so long to live, and they want to understand what happens to them after they pass away. No one talks about this stuff. Mm-hmm. They feel more comfortable knowing this is the embalming process. So funeral homes, they don't really expose a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, and that's what this is. My museum is behind the scenes of doctor practices, anatomy schools, and funeral homes.
Of course.
We display everything that doesn't get displayed.
OddFellows, tell me about this.
So this is the recent OddFellow skeleton we have acquired. This actually came from a pawn shop.
Okay.
We had a local pawn shop call us up, and they said, yeah, we got this dead thing that you might be interested in. And I said, well, there's plenty of dead things. Like, can you specify? Mm-hmm. And he says, well, it looks like a human skeleton. We're not sure if it's real, but you want to come down and look at it. Someone brought it in for pawn, and we just ended up buying off them. Mm-hmm. So that is one of the skeletons.
Incredible. Now this is what I want to see right here. Look at all of these long bones.
Yeah, so we acquired this from an estate sale. The person their father was a medical doctor. Just randomly, someone hit us up and said there was an estate sale going on. The guy had a lot of medical specimens and stuff like that, and when we got there, we bought the whole collection many years ago.
Well, I think seeing a large sample size like this is what's so important, particularly for forensic anthropologists and doctors. You need a large sample size. Not one bone is identical to the other one. You can actually look at the skulls of two identical twins, and there are more differences than similarities. Man, that femur with syphilis, I think the way that it affects the body, it is so aggressive. The way it affects the bone, we've seen skulls with syphilis on the skull as well as in the femur. It really is just an aggressive thing to deal with. Wow.
And here at our museum, a lot of things are in open air display. Some stuff are behind cases and glass, but some stuff is right here and open to where, we don't encourage touching of anything here, but it's right in everyone's face where they can see it in person.
Thank you so much, Todd. That was incredible. Can you tell the audience a little bit more about how they can find you?
Yeah, Google. We have our Google page with our website connected to it. You can also find us on Instagram. We are Death Museum on Instagram. On Facebook, we are Anatomy of Death Museum. And if you have any questions, our number is on there. You can just give us a call.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for giving us a tour of the museum today.
Appreciate it. Thank you.